And now I'm going to go live.
Wait. Don't we have to legally sign something that says you're recording this?
No.
We just clicked, got it.
It was in our club dues.
We just agreed to it.
You're
Okay.
basically in it, whether or not you like it. What is going on?
We'll see what my lawyers have to say about that. But
Oh, will we now? Okay, that's fair. Let me do this. Live on Facebook.
I like the background too. I like your background.
I made that all on my own.
That's pretty cool.
Fancy.
Like nobody else.
I don't think you had to specify you liked his background.
That's true. It is.
Ours says nothing.
Nice wall.
What is going on here? Oh. All right. Let's see what happens. This is the first time that I'm doing this.
Oh, did you not do this way last time?
I had Mr. Mitch Baker.
Oh, so he did it.
I'm
Got
gonna
it.
go live and see where we go. Ready?
Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Rolling.
It's gonna take about 30 seconds. Can you guys see me still?
Yep.
Fancy. So Mitch knew how to do all this, or Mitch handled this the first time?
I'm not gonna say this in public, but Mitch is a pretty smart guy.
I should have asked that before we went live, right?
So my friends, guess what?
Hmm.
We are live.
Sweet.
Good afternoon, my friends. Good evening, wherever y'all happen to be. Welcome to episode 2 of This is CTC. I am your president, Sean Walsh. If you have not met me, I don't know what to tell you, but I can fix that. I'm pretty excited today for lots of reasons. The weather is awesome. It feels like we finally got past the spring doldrums. The winter is past us. And we can start talking about things like racing and speed and good people, 2 of which we have with us right now. But I'm going to make you hold on for like 30 seconds while we go through a few things. Number one, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone that took the time to come out to the Flying Pig. If you were there Sunday, you have probably just finally dried out from the monsoon that was. Congratulations to everyone that raced that weekend, whether you did the Flying Fur, the Fast Mile, whatever the case is, your accomplishment is phenomenal and you all should relish in that. A lot of people volunteered to make that possible, most of which was headed up by one Mr. Mitch Baker. So Mitch, if you're watching, thank you for the tent. Thank you for coordinating the group of savory characters that were there with you on Gilbert Avenue. Very much appreciated. With the weather breaking, speaking of rain, but not raining right now, we have got a lot of activities for you guys lined up this week. Check the event calendar. We have Mod Squad rides on Thursday, on Sunday. We have organized runs. We have happy hours coming up. Make sure you do not skimp on that. I promise you they are a good time. So why am I rushing through this? Why do I want to get through the announcements and get to the good stuff? Because today we have the one and only Elizabeth Heinbach and Stephen Pear. Welcome to the show, episode 2. Appreciate y'all.
For having us.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of ways I want to take this. I'm feeling a little insecure because sitting here doing nothing, I already feel slow because I've seen how you guys are able to train, race, the whole 9 yards. So it's like you're already a mile or 2 ahead of me. So just slow down for me. Let me catch up and then you can kick my ass later on.
We're just going with the flow with you today.
You're going to go with the flow.
You're running the show.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's very rare that I get to run the show in this house, so I appreciate that. Here's what I'm really curious about. When you met, did you meet as triathletes already? Or did it evolve? How did that happen?
You want to take it?
Sure. I would say that we were both in the early stages of our triathlon journey. Elizabeth had done a number of triathlons kind of throughout college. She, on top of being on her college swim team, she was also president of the triathlon club at your school.
Mm-hmm.
And her family had kind of grown up doing tries, and I had been with CTC, I think about a year, but I don't know that I would say that I knew what I was doing at all
Mhm.
at that point. So we kind of found it separately, but together at the same time, I guess is how I would describe it.
Yeah, I think when we met, Steven had done 170.3,
Yes.
and then I had just signed up for my first one. So we were
Okay.
still pretty new to those.
So then tell us about you guys. Like Elizabeth, let's do ladies first, right? Tell me a little bit about you. You know, you were born, you came into this world. We know you have a pretty badass mom. Take us through your childhood all the way up to the point where you met this this attractive dude sitting next to you.
Oh boy.
I like that.
Well, I guess starting at the beginning, I'm a twin, so I have a twin sister,
Nice.
who's also pretty athletic. But yeah, so my mom did Ironman Lake Placid in 2002. So that's when I was 8 years old. So watching that was really what made me want to do an Ironman someday. Just was super inspired by it. So then grew up doing sports, been swimming since I was 6. I started running in 8th grade, ran through high school, swam Division III in college. I went to Stevens Institute of Technology, which is a small D3 school in Hoboken, New Jersey. So studied mechanical engineering and swam there.
Okay. Now I'm going to pick on you a little bit for a couple minutes. I understand that you took a college visit to the greatest university known to men and women, Miami University.
I did. How did you know that?
I just know these things because we have a mutual friend in Carolyn Carter, otherwise known as LA Triathlete, who's also a pro. So I'm curious, how is it that you chose to go to Stevens as opposed to someplace like Miami?
I really liked it. So Stevens was actually the only D3 school that I looked at. But I found that I think it had a good balance of academics and athletics. I think I really liked being on a team where it was almost all engineers. I think it made that workload just seem really normal and everyone else was balancing it. So yeah, I really like that environment.
How did you find life in Hoboken?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you're a 10-minute walk and a 10-minute subway ride from New York City, and the campus is right on the Hudson, so you have views of New York City.
So when you would go out, did you guys hang out with the cake boss? Did you go across the river and just kick it with AZ? Like what was school life like then?
We stayed mostly. Hoboken has going back a bit, Hoboken has one of the highest, I think, densities of bars for cities in the US. So we really didn't go into New York City much if we were going out. And I did go to Cake Boss once. I will say if you had a student ID or if you lived in Hoboken, you could cut the line and go right in.
So you were hanging with Buddy. Awesome. Is there any correlation to the number of bars in Hoboken and your desire to go there?
I don't think I knew that. I think I knew that when I went there.
So just a coincidence, a pure coincidence. There was a lot of people there. Gotcha. I don't know that I buy that, but we'll come back to that one in a little bit. So Mr. Pear, you were born in South Carolina, if I recall correctly.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
But I did move to South Carolina.
South Carolina, gotcha. So I did not understand your folks correctly when I met them last year. So all right, you were probably born 6 feet tall is my guess, and you just grew to where you are now. What was it like growing up in Tennessee, in South Carolina, and then coming to Kentucky, and all the way up to meeting this person to your right?
So I guess some background. Tennessee was only the first 5 years of my life. So I mean, I remember it, but wouldn't say formative years there. South Carolina was till I think 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
So I remember that pretty fondly. So I think I may have told you that was home for me. And I played soccer mostly when I lived in South Carolina. Would do a fun run that my school put on once a year and enjoyed that. Tended to do well with that. I did play baseball, but that ended pretty quickly once I think the first year that kids started pitching, kids pitch or whatever, once the coach stopped throwing the ball at you, I got hit a lot, a lot. like I was the most hit player, and it wasn't fun anymore. And also I wasn't very coordinated. So kind of naturally progressed, came to Kentucky, tried soccer here, didn't really find a team or anything that I liked. But then I was a somewhat tall, skinny kid with no hand-eye coordination. Basketball's big. I tried that. I wasn't any good at that either. So then I tried running, and they don't cut anybody in track and field or cross country, which I thought was amazing. So that's kind of what started my love for running. And yeah, that started 7th grade. Never really looked back. Started swimming in 10th grade, just on my high school swim team. Then UC, mechanical engineering, ran casually there. Yeah, and then graduated, got a job, and I guess what, 3 years later we met, 2019. Yeah, and it's been, the sappiness aside, feels like my other half, or my missing link, I guess, because we are similar and very similar in a lot of ways, different in a lot of ways as well. But yeah,
I gotta be honest, I thought you were gonna take that some other direction entirely. Like I was waiting for a line from The Notebook, or like maybe the front of the Titanic or something like that. So you recovered really well, man, really well.
I wrote a note and reminded myself, do not stick my foot in my mouth today, like multiple times.
And it'll still probably happen.
It definitely will. So if you could put like a counter up on the wall of how many times it happens, that would be great.
Yeah, my wife pins a note to my shirt, so when I go out, it's just like, I'm sorry for my husband kind of thing for what he says. And you guys have met Cameron, so she can validate that for you pretty quick. Yeah. So then how did you guys meet? I mean, Elizabeth, did you know he was the most hit player, and did that factor in to your interest in him at all? I mean,
That was news to me just now. I don't think I knew that.
I shelter that information.
I think we met like most couples do now. We met online.
okay. Was it so total blind date?
Yeah, I mean, we knew a little bit, I guess, before we met. And I think we could tell from both of our profiles that we were pretty athletic. I don't know if anything about triathlon specifically, but I think we could tell running at least.
Yeah.
So we knew we had that in common.
Okay.
And I think we knew we were both mechanical engineers.
Yeah.
So what's it like as mechanical engineers to talk engineering? Is it fun? Is it like, do you bore each other? Is it exciting to talk about engineering concepts? Like, do you even do that?
Not really. We're in different industries. So we really don't, because like I do like HVAC design for like offices and schools.
Okay.
And I do like warehouse automation. So robots, conveyor belt systems, storage solutions, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't have a lot in common, I don't think.
And I think we both I think we both enjoy what we do, but we like to try to leave work at work.
We definitely talk about triathlon more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, triathlon, running, I mean, yeah, we enjoy that a lot. So
Does your engineering background, education and profession, does that factor into your training at all? Like, do you look at things as a scientist and engineer, or do you look at things as a pure athlete? Help us with that.
that's a good question. Do you want to answer it and I answer it as well?
I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I don't really think that I'm analyzing anything. I mean, it's no secret. We both have a coach that we pay somebody to do that. Aaron, shout out. But I think there is something to be said for the engineering mindset and maybe how we approach training, or just how tackle a workout or something like that. But I don't know that we're getting into the analytical side of it.
Okay.
Like it's no coincidence that a lot of people, not necessarily just in CTC, but a lot of our runner friends, a lot of our triathlete friends tend to be engineers or something like that. I mean, maybe not a ton. I know you've met a bunch of different people through the races that you've done this year that are not necessarily that, but there seems to be a correlation. I think, at least.
Makes sense. I was expecting more along the lines of you take data and you just have a mechanism process, however you want to say it, of like tearing it apart and then putting it back together and then you figure something out. I was hoping you did, because then I was going to ask you how, and can you show me how? Because I'm not even anywhere near that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is normal, but like anytime that I'm running a pace or whatever, you know, oh, if I want to hit this pace, you know, do the math, figure out I've got to hold this mile was slower than I wanted it to be, or this effort was slower than I wanted it to be. How do I get my average watts back up or something like that? But that would maybe be the closest example to that I would have.
I think that's only a problem that fast people have, just to be honest with you. When you're a back of the packer, you're just like
Having a good time.
So I'm curious about something. I'm curious about a lot of things, which clearly is why you guys are here. A lot of us were at your first half at Ohio. You both have come a crazy long way since then. So talk us through. I'm not going to make you take us through the entire process. Take us through post Ohio and what was going through your head then, because then the follow-up is look at where you are now. I'm curious how you went from that, which everyone learns from this sport in one way or another, to where you guys are now. So Stephen, why don't we start with you, and then Elizabeth will pivot to you.
Okay, well, pivot a little bit more. So my first race was Chattanooga in 2018.
Okay.
I did not actually race Ohio, I think, which is the race that we were all at and that you're talking about.
And that was in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I supported her because she had already supported me. And then I think a month later, you supported me in my third half Ironman again. But yeah, if anybody follows me on Instagram, probably saw, I think, so my very first half Ironman, I kind of dived in head first, and I finished in about 7 hours and 40 minutes, clarify for a half Ironman.
And I think it's important to note that this was his first triathlon, not just for 70.3.
Yeah.
Go head deep. Like you went right for the deep end.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely, I would say that was not reflective of my fitness. I think it's no secret, I had some challenges on the day. But that's part of triathlon. It's not just, riding your bike and running and swimming. There are other components like how to fix a flat tire that are very important. But yeah, so I finished my first half Ironman in about a little over 7.5 hours. I believe the cutoff is about 8 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Half. So that was actually the first time that I had ever been in a situation where I might get DQ'd or pushed off the course. Because I think there's even a time limit. And to be honest, I might have gone over or right up to it on what the bike portion is. Because it's like a rolling start. My swim was great. It was Chattanooga, it's downriver. But I think the bike is like 5-ish hours after the last person starts the bike or something like that. Yeah, I was 5 hours and like 10 minutes on or is it 6 hours?
I don't know.
I was a few minutes away from going over on the bike. Flat tires and other issues. And then, yeah, but that kind of made me fall in love with the sport, and I got redemption the next year. Elizabeth went with me, and I think I did it like 5.5 hours or something like that. But they shortened the swim, so it wasn't a full length swim, and other things. Then Traverse City, and then decided, oh, maybe we started dating. It was like, maybe we're going to get serious about this and do a full Ironman. So we got a coach, Aaron, and now my PR is like 4:23, I think.
That's outstanding. So you basically went from 7 and change, we'll call it, to your last. I actually think your last was what, 4:29, maybe 4:28.
No, it was 4:23, I think, at St. George. It's annoying. I think 4:23 and 4:22 maybe at Eagleman or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Very different courses, but about the same time. It was low 4:20s, I think.
Let me orient something real quick though. When you say Aaron, just to make sure everyone's talking the same language, talking Aaron Geyser, performance and science, CTC coach. He's a little intense, a little bit, right? And then when you talk about your PR being at St. George, was that the Worlds?
Yes. So that was in Worlds, I guess, October, November?
Yeah, this past year.
Yeah,
Okay.
2022.
Not 21 with the crazy weather.
So you went from that first experience and then your second experience and your third, you've gained roughly 3 hours of improvement, and your best was at the World Championships.
Yep.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. It's fun to reflect and realize how far you've come. And yeah, it's exciting.
As you were finishing St. George, did that go through your head? Like, I just did this in 4:23 and my first one was like 7+. Did that factor in?
I don't think about that 7.5 or close to, it was honestly, it was closer to 8 hours than it was to 7 hours. I don't think about that too often. But I mean, that's kind of what made me fall. It was a different kind of challenging day than what, I guess, my background being coming from running. No marathon has hurt that good, I guess, is how I would put it.
Hurt that good.
I mean, I put in a full day's work, 8 hours or just under 8 hours. I mean, that's a lot of time to be out there.
It's outstanding, man. But still, to go from that to what you did at St. George, that's phenomenal. So, Elizabeth, ma'am, same question to you. Take us through that first experience, and then up to your most recent. Like, just walk us through that process. Walk us through the whole 9 yards.
Sure. So I will preface this, I guess, by saying when I was a part of my triathlon club in college, there wasn't really much training involved. There were a lot of swimmers that were part of our triathlon club, and I figured I would join it because I knew I wanted to do triathlons at some point. So it was pretty much showing up and doing like sprints and Olympics, not really having done the training. We didn't have a coach, none of that. But it was, we got reimbursed for our entry fees, for hotels.
Oh, wow.
Why not do it? So I didn't have a lot of experience going into Ohio. Was my first half Ironman in 2019. And I feel like I did not have a clue what I was doing. I don't think understand the importance of training in aero and like in that aggressive position. I definitely did not have nutrition dialed in. So I had a fine swim. I had a really rough time on the bike. Like, I think at one point I was standing at an aid station, like off my bike, like stretching because I was cramping. And I ended up finishing in 6 hours, I think in 13 minutes. So that was my first one. And then so I was in 2019, I was getting back into more running. I got injured, which I had been a runner in high school. I'd gotten stress fractures like the entire time.
Wow.
So I was super injury prone. And I started having the same issue when I started training for marathons again that fall. And that was actually how I got connected with like Drew and then Aaron in early 2020, was dealing with injuries. And so we started working with Aaron in like early 2020, I think. You started a little before I did.
Yeah, I was like February 2020.
And I was like March or April, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we got really lucky in that 2020 with no racing. We were able to train straight through the year. Like you didn't have racing, so there was no tapering, there was no recovering. Like we were able to just do, like I really needed to do heart rate training because my heart rate was super high when I was running. And I think that was part of why I was having so many injuries, was especially with the swimming, I was aerobically super fit. And so I could go out and run really hard, but then like my body, it just could not keep up with that. And so that's why I was having all those stress reactions and stress fractures. So we did heart rate training, which I hated. It totally sucked. But I think it's like the best thing ever now. Because I think that is a large part of why now I don't get injured and my body can handle the training load a lot better. And so I think for both of us, it really helped being able to train straight through 2020 and really into Eagleman. We did that together in June of 21. So it was really like a year and a half straight of training. So came from Ohio in 2019 with the 613, then raced to Eagleman in June of 21 and did a 426. And
Wow.
Yeah.
Were there any races in between those two?
No.
So over 2 hours from one to the other.
About, yeah.
Outstanding.
Thank
Now,
you.
for those watching, which by the way, so far, as I'm listening to you here, I've got Facebook here, and I'm watching who's joining. We have the biggest audience so far that we've ever had out of 2 episodes, but still, a data point is a data point, right?
Take it.
So for those folks that aren't familiar with heart rate training, which you mentioned a second ago, take us through what it is, and then talk us through why it was challenging.
I mean, it's running easy. It's slowing down and it's running easy and it's keeping your heart rate in an aerobic zone. And it's essentially base building. So I think for most people, you think you need to go out and run all these miles really hard and that's how you're going to get faster. But you really, at least initially, need to spend a lot of time doing that base building and building up that aerobic base. But, most of us don't want to slow down. It's not fun.
Yeah. It's not fun to show off on Strava or Instagram running slow, and by any means. And I think most people would be surprised at how slow you generally how much slower you have to generally run.
Yeah, I mean,
to stay in.
I think especially for me,
zones.
like we were pretty different. I had run, I think at the Heart Mini the year prior, an hour and 25-minute half marathon. So like 6:30 pace. When I started doing heart rate training, I was doing all my runs 9 to 10 minute pace. And I could not believe that was going to help me get any faster.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I think I came in with a bit more of an aerobic base, partially because I wasn't injured, but I guess just generally, apparently I don't like to run hard or push myself, which kind of goes for all training, but I think I had an easier time running slightly slower. I had a lot of issues when it started getting hot and then adjusting for that on top of the easy training. But I initially remember, and I still do most of my slower runs. I guess I just did a 115 or just under 115 for the pig. And I do most of my longer, easier runs, 7:30 to 8:30 or so. We tend to do a lot of our long runs together anymore. Because it works out nicely that way.
And you're referencing the most recent pig where you ran the half and you finished 8th overall.
Yeah.
Like overall, like not the 8th male, but overall.
Yeah. I don't think there were any females that were ahead of me, but yeah.
And that was at what pace again?
Like 5:35, I think 5:40 maybe ish.
That's just incredible.
I remember kind of what my watch says, but I know my watch wasn't necessarily accurate. So I don't know what the pig would say is what I'm not sure of.
It's amazing to a lot of us that don't have your pace, that when you guys are at it, you look smooth, you look fluid. Like you're obviously putting in some work, but it just looks very fluid, just very I guess, synchronized, whatever adjective I'm trying to find here, and I'm doing a terrible job at.
You didn't say that about me at the end of Eagleman,
I can't repeat what I said to you at Eagleman because that would be inappropriate.
but you didn't say that about how I looked.
Well, I don't remember that at all. You got the-
Well, so let me clarify for those at home. Two things. Elizabeth asked me to say what I said to her when I saw you on your way back in. I just can't repeat it. But when you were coming back in, when I saw you, you were just laser focused and you were just gliding. I mean, it's almost like your feet weren't touching the ground, but you were on it. Like, I don't remember what your pace was, but you were on it.
I appreciate that.
She was pretty locked in at Eagleman. So, and we're talking about what, 2022 Eagleman last June, because you were there supporting Cam, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So, which was a big race for us, or Elizabeth, I guess, as well.
Well, let's talk about support for a minute, because you both have come a long ways, right? We just talked about time, we talked about the challenges, we talked about where you guys are now. You know, I've had a chance to see each of you support the other at a variety of different races. The first time I think I saw you run, Elizabeth, was the virtual Boston that was on the bike trail here in Cincinnati. And then, and because Stephen, you came rolling by when I was out behind Narrow Path at the water stop.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then Elizabeth, as a superhero, negative split the second half of that run.
Yes.
Sunglasses hanging off the back of your jersey, just making it look easy, and you just killed it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's because I told Aaron I would take it easy, and I did for a while.
Quotes, right?
Yeah.
I think you were running with what, 3 other friends at the time, and like you just
Yeah.
dropped them.
And I think I told Aaron I would run like 8:30s, and I think the last 10 miles were in the high 6s.
Yeah.
But when you feel good, you feel good.
Exactly. Go with the moment, right? You stay in the moment.
Yeah.
Do you guys, when it comes to one of you racing and not the other, do you have keys to how you want to support the other?
It's a good question. I think we know, certainly at this point, what triggers each other. You know, whether that's other people or, you know, being around a big group of people and just absorbing everything are. I think now we're kind of at the point where racing is fun, but certainly with where Elizabeth is at, it's shocker, she's pro now. It's her job. So when we go to a race, I think we kind of approach it kind of with that, as opposed to a relaxed nature, lackadaisical, I don't know, nature of just, oh, whatever happens. Like, no, whenever we go to a race, honestly, for either one of us, we're there to do a job. Like, I know I'm not the pro that Elizabeth is, but we work really hard. We put in a lot of hours training for this. Our celebration, like we enjoy being social at all the happy hours and events that CTC puts on are the local races. But usually when we're going to our A race or something like that, like we're dialed in, we're laser focused, as you said, just so that I mean, it's no shocker, this sport is kind of expensive, and I don't think we want to waste an opportunity, you know, getting caught up in who all is there or something like that, or being out in the sun too long. I mean, when it comes to races anymore, I feel like we're very boring, or very just, okay, we're gonna get the stuff, come back, keep feet up, relax, do what we need to do.
Show up, execute, finish, move on, so to speak.
Yeah, and we sit back and usually, you know, we have an off week or two between after a race before the next training block or whatever. And that's when we kind of soak it all in. And obviously the day after, or the day of the race, once we're all done, it's like you can just sit back and take it all in, what you just did, which is always fun.
Elizabeth, what about you? When you're watching your boy here show up, execute, get it done, finish, like what are some of the things you're looking for to make sure that he can have the best day possible?
I think I would say, especially during the races now, we look to each other a lot to like give each other information. Like
Yeah.
we're supporting each other out on the course, whoever isn't racing, but also usually looking at the tracker and saying, hey, if you want to know what position, I usually want to know what position I'm in. Steven usually does in like his age group. So we're giving each other information each time on like, what place you're in, if anyone, if you're catching anybody, if you've got people coming up behind you, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And some background on that, since she's gone pro, the math and me telling her information has gotten a million times easier. Because the pros have a mass start. They all start at the same time. So you're not doing math on, hey, this person, you're in whatever third place, but you've got to worry about somebody that started 10 minutes after you that is, progressing faster than you. She still has to deal with that, but I don't have to deal with that anymore, which is very nice.
Well, and see, all this time, I thought the best part about being a pro is that you got your own porta potty, but apparently not.
I was waiting for that.
Apparently there's other things you get as well. That's awesome.
That's
That's
a pretty
awesome.
nice perk though.
That's more a perk for me though, than her.
Yeah, I think it's nice when you're out there racing, you actually have a sense of where you
That's true.
are, where instead of saying, having to play those mind games and thinking, okay, I know somebody that started 10 minutes back is running time into me or whatever. You actually see the people out on the course, you know what's going on.
Exactly.
You're hitting the out and backs and you see it.
So we're gonna hit a first here for this is CTC, in that my laptop is about to run out of juice.
Oh no.
Give me 30 seconds. I'm gonna grab my plug and plug it in. But while we do that, what is your process for getting ready for a race? Whether you're a pro, an amateur, what is your process for getting ready, and why do you find it successful? Keep going. I'll be right back.
We're thinking like race morning process, I guess. Or we could do the 2 nights before because we have a routine, right?
Before.
Chipotle.
Well, that's the night before.
The way most of our races go, it's usually both nights.
Yeah.
So, okay, the night before we'll do Chipotle, very, very bland Chipotle. Usually no veggies or anything.
I'll
Minimal.
usually do chicken, rice, and I think guac.
Yeah, I'll usually do chicken, rice, light salsa, and maybe light cheese, but no veggies or anything like that. And then race morning, again, we try to get in bed early. I usually don't have any problem sleeping. Somebody else
I usually don't sleep much the night before a race.
rarely. And then morning of, I think we do hard-boiled eggs
Mhm.
and
And an S Fuels bar.
yeah, which is our nutrition choice.
Can you tell?
I wonder who, and I wonder why. Scratching my head.
And then they also make a caffeine drink. So I mean, I drink a ton of coffee, but I try to avoid coffee race morning because I like to put milk in it, and I don't really like milk or dairy race morning. That doesn't seem like a good combination. So they have Prime. Not trying to make this a ad lib or sell for S Fuels by any means, but usually do 2 packets of that, which is, I don't know how much caffeine, but enough to get me going.
Mhm.
And then listen to some music and head to the course and get set up. I think we both do kind of the same thing.
I love it. I love it. So we here at Channel CTC, the crack staff that we've got for This Is CTC, which pretty much is my twins and my middle child, Catherine. So we're talking 2 9-year-olds and a 12-year-old or 11-year-old, excuse me. We put together a catalog of like some other famous duos and throughout time, sports duos, celebrities, the whole 9 yards that you guys kind of remind us of. So we thought be a good time to take just a little bit of a trip to show other people that we think you compare to. I'm a little afraid to show you this because I don't know what they did. I don't know what my kids did. I don't know how they did it. So maybe there'll be some firings. I don't know. So let's see where this goes. If I can find my share screen button, that would be really good.
Just remember, we talked about my lawyers prior to this starting. I just want to bring that up again.
There's always the legal threat, right? There's always the legal process. So I think to start, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Obviously, Tio and Rinny. And I should add, this is the end of school year edition. So I have a feeling with school ending this week, my kids were probably lazy in terms of spell check and some other things. I really hope not, because I don't want this to be embarrassing, but time will tell. So obviously Tio and Rinny, goes without saying. I don't know about this one, Boris and Natasha. I mean, unless you guys have some international spy stuff going on, you do travel. You guys have been to some pretty cool places, but I don't know. I struggle with this one. I don't see this one at all. I don't know. Unless you guys have some stories that we aren't aware of. I don't. God, this staff is awful.
Maybe pre-triathlon, definitely pre-Aaron. Probably not that bad.
I don't know about that.
We're just talking about all the bars in Hoboken.
I was gonna say this might be the Hoboken crew.
Mhm.
I don't know. You know what? I like this one. I do see this one.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
a big compliment.
I see
Absolutely.
lots of similarities. One, I'll say something about Robin and Bruce that I've talked about with Mitch Baker a lot. The humility is just, they scream humility. And because they're so humble, they're so likable, but they're so damn talented all at the same time. Is there a race they haven't won?
You're amazing.
They are, absolutely are. What else do we have here? All right. You've got the intense one and you've got the Mitch. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. This kind of speaks for itself.
I was gonna say, so all right, I know we're not there yet. Who's who? This is our question to you. Who's who?
Which one is Aaron? Which one is Mitch?
Yeah, because we know the right answer.
Well, if you notice, they're never in the same spot at the same time. It's kind of like you never see Bruce Wayne and Superman in the same spot at the same time. But look at that. Look at that. Look at that intense face. If that doesn't describe Aaron, I don't know what does. What else we got here? Maybe. Although I
That
think,
is one of my favorite movies.
so I'm not going to ask you your age, but I think this movie is older than you.
I'm gonna assume so. I don't know when it came out.
Yep, but this one is not. So, oh, come on. They're lazy. What is this? Come on. Maverick and the Admiral's Daughter. We couldn't get their actual name.
Yeah, Top Gun's from 1986. That is older than us.
Can confirm.
We can confirm that I am older than Top Gun and you, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. So what else do we have as far as duos here? Peas and carrots, right? Who doesn't like peas and carrots? Little Forrest Gump action. Coke and New Coke. Were you guys even around for old Coke and New Coke? Do you even remember this?
No, I don't. Do you?
Not specifically, but I've heard it brought up at family conversations. One of my uncles works for Coke.
Okay.
So.
We'll have a conversation about this sometime later. I'm sure it'll bore you. All right. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. That's not bad.
All right.
Yeah. I don't think that I'll speak for myself that I have those moves. Because this is La La Land, right?
It's just La La Land, yep.
Yeah, no, that whole coordination thing and why I chose running. Yeah.
This is how Elizabeth looked to me at Eagleman. Just very like fluid, just kind of with it, What else do we got here? All right, this is lazy. We have no idea who they are. They were just in the cards and graduation money. That's not cool. The Walsh kids have failed on this one. Pure
Failed. Graduation money, man.
I don't know. They could do better. Clearly, you know these two.
They look familiar.
This, I think, is Mojo, where I believe you both finished first.
Yeah. First and second overall, right?
Mhm.
And then the most famous duo of all time, peanut butter and jelly.
There you go.
It's hard to argue with that one.
No, not at all. Not enough peanut butter on that, though, in my opinion.
Well, it has to be Aaron approved peanut butter.
True.
Well, yeah, but Aaron doesn't have a limit on how much peanut butter. I mean, that looked like it thin. You gotta lather it up. It's gotta be half an inch thick.
Half an inch of peanut butter? How do you talk?
No joke, my dad made me a peanut butter sandwich in high school for lunch that had an inch of peanut butter on it. I mean,
Wow.
it was hard to finish and it was hard to eat.
Are you a smooth or a chunky peanut butter guy?
Smooth.
Elizabeth, smooth or chunky peanut butter for you?
Smooth.
There's the key to your relationship right there. Obviously.
Like every once in a while Kroger will screw up, we do the click list or whatever, and they'll give us crunchy and I'll eat it, but I'm not happy about it.
The sacrifices you make. Oh, I love it. So let me talk real quick about sacrifices. I'm going to out Steven a little bit here, and then I want to pivot to some non-triathlon stuff. So we've referenced a few times how the three of us were at Eagleman last year, and obviously, Elizabeth, you had a phenomenal day. I think you were the first overall female, did really well. We all got to see Matthew Marquardt do what Matthew Marquardt does, which is just unbelievable, right?
Unworldly.
So I see Steven in the morning at the swim start, and like I knew you were racing clearly, but he was like dressed, ready, and rested to literally be every place along the course he had to be. And then he grabs the megaphone from me and was literally like a cloud of smoke, gone. And every time I saw Steven after that, it was with purpose. It was, I got to meet Elizabeth here, have to meet her there. Like, I don't know how many points you saw her on the bike course, on the run course, and clearly at the finish line. But I got to tell you, man, it was really cool watching how much effort you put in to supporting Elizabeth and her race to make sure that she had the day that she had. Because quite frankly, man, there's not a lot of people that would put that much effort into something, especially knowing going from point A to point B is not, these are not two close points, but you did it. And you did it all day, every day. And then you stuck around afterwards to make sure she had clothes to change into, she had hydration. I watched you carry everything she had. I mean, that's commendable, man. That says a lot about you.
I appreciate that. I think, the big advantage to us both doing the sport is there are plenty of disadvantages as well, but a big one is we know what each of us needs or wants after, both before the race, during the race, and after the race. We know what that feels like. We know the information that each of us wants. And like I said earlier, I mean, we went there with a mission, and I was going to be damned if, you can't control who shows up, but I was going to be damned if it was, because of anything that I did or did not do.
Well, I think we'll clarify. The mission was, I knew that there was not a pro field at Eagleman in 21, but in 22 they brought it back, which made it an elite qualifying race. So I showed up wanting to get my pro card, which meant I had to be one of the top 3 amateurs. And so that was all I cared about that day, was top 3. Did not care about anything else. Top 3.
Time did not matter. And I think coming off the swim, I think you roughly recap. I think that you swam better in 2022 than you did in 2021, but you came out of the water in a worse position. I think you were 8th out of the water,
6th
or 6th out of the water. I think you moved up some on the bike, but some of the Uber bikers caught you. So you were like 3rd, I think, after the bike was done. And then getting out on the run, through some research and some information from also Aaron, found out who was in front of you and who was around you, found out that, if you run the way that you could run, it was going to be no contest. but you had to run the way that you can run. I mean, she's a great runner. So it's just giving her those splits, and anybody knows Yoder Performance, that was a big race for them. That's also who coaches Matthew Marquette. And they're pretty gnarly fast squad.
Yeah.
I think they had half a dozen women out there. I mean, the rest of the women's podium was pretty much made up of Yoder athletes. Like, they don't mess around. And they also had similar goals of, top 3 overall. So it wasn't just she walked away with it. There was actually a lot of work to be done with it. And
because somebody else got the top spot. Somebody else got the top spot, which was awesome. I remember, Elizabeth, watching when on the tracker when you passed from second to first. And then when you were heading in, I said what I said, but I can't repeat it. You were dialed in and you just gave me this look and this little smile that was like, I got this. And then you did. It was awesome. It was
I don't think I felt that way. Oh my gosh, those last 2 miles were so painful.
Really? It didn't look it.
Yeah, I was smiling. I think the other times I saw you, like I was having a good time the first few times, and then those last couple miles, I was hurting. But I was really lucky. I had you out there. I think my parents were still out at the turnaround, which was about a mile out from the finish line. So I got to see them. And then I knew Steven was making his way to the finish. So I got to see him as I crossed the finish line. So yeah, I was super lucky. Like, I was so well supported out there.
It was a fun day for sure. So when you're not racing, what is it that consumes your guys' time? Like, what do? You have downtime. What's top of the list for y'all?
I think training takes most of it. But I will say we have almost, I guess, like a mini zoo at our house. We have 2 cats and 2 dogs, so they keep us pretty busy.
What are their names?
So the cats are Milo and Clyde, and they're kind of mine. I had them before we started dating. And then we have 2 dogs, Pace and Coda. Steven got Coda right when we started dating, when he was a puppy. He's Lab and Great Pyrenees mix. Steven got when he was 8 weeks old. And then Pace we got, I think, like 6 months later. He was supposed to be a foster for 2 weeks. And you can see how that went.
Yeah.
And he's a hound mix. It's like Beagle, Boxer, and German Shepherd. Yeah.
We're honestly surprised that they're being quiet right now. I mean, we're in a room away from them, but surprised they're being as good as they are.
They say good pets, good owners, right? There's a strong correlation between that. I mean, our dogs are that way. Only when Cameron's around, they're not good for me. Only when Cameron's around. if she's gone, they both go crazy. So if that's pretty much that's not how I asked the question. So you do get downtime. So where would you want to go on vacation? And if you're on vacation, would you train, or would you give yourself time to take advantage of whatever location you'd be at?
So I want to preface this by saying we enjoy, I think, how would I put it? I think we're very lucky in the sense that it's just the 2 of us. We don't have any kids or anything, or responsibilities outside of our 4 pets, which can be a handful, for sure. But also, I mean, as long as we've been together, we've gone on, I guess, 1 actual vacation.
What?
To Florida. I mean, and
We've never actually gone on vacation, just the 2 of us, since we've been dating, because most of our vacation days go to racing. Especially since now we mostly race different races, so it takes up more time.
So the largest This Is CTC audience wants to know, where would you go on vacation? Where would that non-race vacation be?
I feel like it would probably still be something related to training. Boulder.
I was thinking like beach, no training.
Okay. Yeah.
I like downtime. I'm good with downtime.
Okay. We're gonna go with her answer, the beach. Which beach?
You gotta take breaks every once in a while, right?
Like any beach, like East Fork Lake, or are we talking like down south? Or what are you looking for?
Look, if you're at a beach, it's got to be hot. Like I gotta actually want to get in the water and like chill.
So you're thinking down south.
Down south or California, like something like that. We did have a mini vacation when you raced.
Oceanside.
Yeah,
We had a
Oceanside.
vacation day. We went to San Diego the day after Oceanside and kind of explored and stayed at a hotel.
Yeah,
But it was a day.
it was a day. But yeah.
So then, while you're on vacation, here's something to think about, and you can answer me now, and then you guys can talk about it and get back to me. They make a movie about you. You know, your rise from where you guys started to where you are now. Elizabeth, you turning pro. Stephen, you being the ultimate Sherpa. The improvements you've made. You know, kicking butt the way you did at World. Who would play you, Stephen, and who would play you, Elizabeth? Which actors?
I guess that's a hard question for me. I have who I would think just because I love the movie, but we're not the same age, even remotely.
Who?
Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. It just seems appropriate. Maybe some miracle, anti-aging or reverse aging that we can get a young Tom Hanks or something like that. But I don't know. That's a hard question.
Okay.
No idea.
Oh. And I guess if we were going to do really young or younger, when I was growing up, I always looked like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. Before he became an adult and got into other things. But like from the Home Alone movies, he and I look very similar.
Can you give us your best Macaulay Culkin impression right now?
What is it? The shaving cream? I'm not gonna scream.
Come on, you got to go all in. Come on, all in.
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
Everybody wants
the doors
to
closed. I just told you the dogs were being good.
You don't want to disturb the peace. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Oh,
When we see the person, I'll do it.
fair enough. Fair enough. So, Elizabeth, I got to come back to you. Which actress? Like who? So, Stephen set the bar. So, who is young Elizabeth, and then who is current day Elizabeth?
Oh my gosh, I don't even have one of them. I have no idea.
Let's see if people out there. So, people that are watching, who would be a good actress to be Elizabeth Heinbach, both young and then current day? Who would that be? Don't be shy. Reach out. I'll give you all the results. My take, not that this is really worth anything. Current day, I could see Elizabeth, not Elizabeth, you're Elizabeth. Hilary Swank from $1 Million Baby being like current you.
Okay.
Yep.
Young you, though.
Do we need to pull up a young picture of Elizabeth for you to see?
Do you have one handy? And I'm just going to caution you that it could be painful later for you.
I don't know that I have one that I can show up on the screen.
You're a smart man. You're a very smart man. So while we wait for the world to kind of key in on who young Elizabeth would be, if I award you guys $1 million right now, what are you doing? What are you guys doing with $1 million?
Investing and saving it.
Oh, okay. New bike.
I'm good there, but yeah. For you.
Yeah.
You'd have a lot left over unless you're getting some gold plated something, right? Even then you have a lot left over.
And probably a second home at elevation, I guess. I won't say where, but just at elevation, right?
Probably a house in Boulder.
Probably.
Back to that vacation spot, you could just live there with Rennie and T.O. kind of thing.
Good vacation, good training. What's not to like?
Exactly.
Since Cincinnati is home for us, like we love it. But I mean, kind of hard to beat. You can't bring elevation here to Cincinnati.
Hills, yes. Elevation, no. No question. No
Yeah.
question about it. So last question from me, and then we're gonna turn the table. Where do you want to retire, and what do you envision retirement looking like? Because you guys are both professionals right now. You're working towards something. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do?
Clarify, I'm not the professional
Well-
Sherpa maybe, but
Working professional.
okay, yeah.
I assume that's what.
Exactly.
I don't know, can we loop in Bruce and Robin? Ask them what they're doing? That seems pretty,
If I could, I would, believe me, because that'd be funny. You guys should be like a before and after. I'm not gonna say who's who, but it'd be pretty cool to do that.
but I don't know, I think we both hope to still, lifelong goal of doing triathlons, crazy endurance things. I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. As far as where we settle down or anything like that, I don't know. Hopefully make smart decisions and not have any issues, so that we can continue, this lifestyle that we love well into our golden years.
Your golden years. So I just got this question, and it has to do, Stephen, with something you just said. I'm not going to ask the exact question. I'm going to ask it my way. And yes, Elizabeth, I know you're watching too. How often do you guys get the question?
The question.
How often do you get that?
This one,
That one. Yep, that one. And by the way, the question that I got came in through text, not through.
okay.
Because you're like, who asked that question?
Who asked it then?
I'm not going to incriminate my wife, but it could be her.
Usually anytime that we meet somebody new, because most people generally assume at this point that we already are.
Yeah,
think-
it's not really a question. A lot of times we just get the people, oh, your husband, or oh, your wife.
Yeah. I think we've broken. Is this a public video or a private video? I'm just curious before.
Yes.
That's not helpful at all.
I don't think your family will watch it.
This is true. I think we have broken both my mom and my grandmother because they have more or less stopped asking.
They asked for the first couple of years, and then I think they kind of gave up.
Sorry, mom. Sorry, grandma.
I need a legal disclaimer at the bottom. That's like, I am not responsible for what happens next. I just ask the questions and just, I pull the pin, drop the grenade, and walk out of the room. So appreciate the honesty. So let's turn it around. What do you got for me? What questions do you want to throw to me, to the folks that are watching, just anything in general? Don't be shy.
Got a few.
Okay, you go ahead.
What got you into the sport?
What got
And
me?
how long have you been a part of CTC? Because I guess I don't.
Great question, man. So I've been with CTC since 2015. I've been in the sport since 2012. And my first triathlon was Pensacola Beach Tri. I drove all the way to Pensacola. It was miserable. The whole time I was swimming, I was convinced there were sharks all around me. They weren't sharks. They were like little guppies nipping at my feet. I finished. I loved it. I had a good time. Joined CTC in 2015. Did some little stuff here and there and just kept telling myself all I'll do are sprints and Olympics. Then I went and volunteered at Ironman Louisville in 2015. I was a bike catcher. And then I volunteered as security in the VIP, which security and VIP in this context is way overblown for what it actually was. But I was amazed at the people that did the race. There are people that were amputees, organ transplants, cancer survivors, other diseases, and I'm listening to their loved ones in the VIP talk about how proud they were of their loved ones that were racing. And I'm like, I have nothing wrong with me except the fact that I was overweight. I'm like, there's no excuse for me not to do this. So the following morning after every race, volunteers get the ability for priority registration for Ironman. I woke up, I went down to the tent, I volunteered, I called my wife Cameron, told her what I did, and her exact response was, "Are you kidding me? Why did you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I've just been around ever since.
And how many fulls have you done now?
And 10 so far.
Are you going for legacy?
I am going for legacy. So my coach, who's a peer to your coach, Carolyn, has given me a week to decide what number 11 is going to be, which would make Ironman Florida this year number 12.
Okay. So what are you deciding between?
I'm going back and forth between Maryland and Chattanooga.
Okay, good options.
I'd recommend Chattanooga unless you are friendly with jellyfish. But I mean,
Jellyfish.
you already know that.
Yeah, they're awful. I had one hitch a ride right here on my face when I did Maryland, and when I get out of the water, my lip was all swollen. You know, it looked like I just got out of a prize fight. It was awful, but I survived. Life goes on.
We've been fortunate, knock on wood, that we've never had jellyfish in any race yet.
No, no.
We've had some very cold swims, but not.
Well, I mean,
jellyfish.
Eagleman's in the same water, but it's the time of the year where they don't have that issue.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. You haven't lived until you swam with jellyfish. Let me just tell you that. The pain, and then you go numb. It's when you go numb is the best part of the race. Oh, the best part of the swim. I'll say it that way.
Do you have any issues with like dexterity or anything, like from getting stung, like bike handling, like because you're numb? I mean,
no, I didn't. It was weird. It was my face that went numb.
Okay.
Because I mean, I got stung. I don't know how many, several dozen times, but after a while, you just didn't feel it. What it felt like for a while there, it was like razor burn with jelly, if that makes any sense. It was the weirdest like combination, and then after a while, I just didn't feel anything. And then I got out of the water. I had that big deformed lip for like about 3 hours, 4 hours, and then I was fine. But yeah, no problems with dexterity. There are some people though that had some pretty severe allergic reactions, and they had to get over that. A few people didn't finish as a result.
That would be my fear. Like, I mean, because I feel like that's just one of those things you wouldn't know until it happened. And once it happened, it's like, oh yeah, this is actually bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are so many jellyfish in Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana.
Which is all because of all the nuclear waste and all the other stuff they pour into the river, which is where it all comes from.
What so you joined CTC in 2015. Were you living in Cincinnati in 2012? Or what was your time frame? Because you were in Florida, right?
Yep. So I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm a very proud 305 resident. I love my Florida roots. I probably talk about it more than I realize. Stop laughing, Stephen. I moved up here in 91. I moved up here in 91, went to school up here, and I've stayed ever since. I just didn't get into the sport until later in life. I think my first try, I was 30. I have to do math backwards now and use my kids as a reference. So my oldest daughter was 3 at the time. So I was 39, 40, something like that. Okay. This area grows on you. There's awesome people in the area. Lots of cool stuff to do.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not totally related, but just talking about the area and triathlon. I mean, we've kind of found CTC together, but finding out that there are people in the club that know Elizabeth from when she was in middle school, like high school level. I mean, and talk about Bruce and Robin. They're friends with your mom.
Yeah.
Like,
known them my whole life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's really cool. I mean, I love my family. I'm the only one in this crazy sport or in any kind of endurance sport in my immediate family. My uncle does do triathlons, and I have another uncle that used to run, but not the same way that I guess we do. But So when I completed my first one in 7.5 hours, that he was like, "Oh, great job," or whatever. But he's very supportive of me.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's been cool to see all of the connections and generational connections, like,
Yeah.
I guess through CTC.
And I think like the community and everything with CTC is a part of what makes the sport so much fun.
Yes,
Like it's
absolutely.
such a huge part of it. It's the whole community that comes with it.
Yeah. I mean, because regardless of whatever your finish time is or whatever your ideal race distance is, we all put in a lot of time into training. I mean, you could quantify it and say, oh, I'm doing 10 hours, I'm doing 15 hours, or oh, I'm only 5 hours or something like that. But we all put in a lot of times, and I think what impresses me a lot is the people that have fully loaded schedules or a bunch of commitments and are able to fit everything in, or are fit, whatever they can in, because whatever. We all only have 24 hours. And I mean, and part of the training is also resting. And then, if you've got, sleeping, eating, if you've got kids that you've got to take care of and get them to practice. I mean, we've got cats and dogs and they're a handful, but we just got to make sure that we feed them at some point. And let them out periodically. It's, they don't need supervision 24/7. So that's been really cool just to see. And I feel like there's, just the sense of community is amazing.
We're lucky. We're part of a great group with a lot of great people. You two are a big part of it. I want to use that to wrap us up today. Thank you guys so very much taking time to spend time with us on episode 2 of This is CTC. Quick reminder for those watching, we have a job opening with This is CTC. We need an intern to help us with research, special effects, and pretty much whatever else I need, because clearly it was lacking today, especially the power cord. 2, check out the events calendar. We got rides, we got runs, we have happy hours coming up. We'd love to see everybody out there, including our 2 guests, Elizabeth Heinbach, Stephen Pear. Thank you guys so very much for your time. Greatly appreciate it. We will see you all next time for episode 3 of This is CTC. Thank you all very much for watching and have a great night.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Sean.
Thank you guys.